This is about a super popular wine. In fact, the whole winery is really popular. It's owned by a company called Vintai, who are a Spanish group that set up in 1999 to establish wineries across Spain and make a load of money that way, I suppose. They started in Rioja, and they were buying up plots of grapes here and there, and they now have, 20 odd years later, they have about 300 hectares of vines around Spain, which is really impressive. In the mid-2000s, they started exploring wineries and vineyards in Toro, which is to the west of Rioja and immediately to the west of Rueda. So Toro almost only makes, it doesn't quite only, but almost only makes red wines, and they almost always use a very high proportion, if not 100%, of Tempranillo. They call it Tinta del Toro, which is red wine of the Toro region, and the region Toro gets its name from the river that runs through the region. So there. This is the amazingly popular bodegas Matsu and their Recio. I always used to think that it was a reference to age, that Recio was older, like Recioto in Italian, which is dried and more gnarled. Actually, it's supposed to mean the tough guy. So there are 3 of these wines, each with male faces. There's a young guy, this guy who's older, and then a very old guy. And I always thought this is the middle one because he's a little bit older, but he's not as old as the Viejo, which is the oldest one. Anyway, this is easily the most popular of all of them because it sees a little bit of oak aging, but not too much. And the vines are old, but the wine that comes out of the vines is really accessible. And that's a really important thing too. The older one, I think, needs a bit more aging. Anyway, look, that's my preference. It's really beautiful. It's 100% Tempranillo. They ferment it in concrete tanks, so there's no oak at that stage. And it has a gentle maceration period of about 2 or 3 weeks. 2 weeks, I think. And then it's aged in French oak barrels. Now, that's an interesting departure for Spanish wines because a lot of what we associate Spanish wines to have is American oak barrels and the typical American oak barrel flavours, which are something a little bit sweeter, more vanilla-y, and sweeter spices like that. This is French oak barrels, and so the vanilla is much more toned down, and instead you might get a little bit of that, but instead what you get is a lot of chocolate and mocha flavours laid on top of this wonderful core of blackberry, but still lots and lots of overripe, dense strawberry puree. It's brilliant. Like, if you like full-bodied wines, if you like Spanish wines, this is certainly something that you've got to try. And I really hope that you like it.